Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 16 of Seraph of the End. So, last episode, Ambition in the Demon Army, things got complicated. Guren is still shady. Guren's still on my watch list. He's still shady, but it's weird. There are layers to Guren, and I feel like Guren has some kind of wish, and the Shinoa's sister that is now the demon inside of his sword wants to help him grant that wish. They've made some kind of contract, whatever's going on. A contract beyond a contract, it seems. So I'm curious to know what that's all about. Didn't see Shinya last episode, which was a little sus. And also finding out that Credo is the worst. he's just straight up lawful evil. At this point, to me anyway, he's just doing some really shady things. Doesn't seem to care as long as he gets his way and he wants to control the world. Cool. Glad that we're establishing that. Also suspicious is that we didn't see Ferret at all last episode. It was mainly about Guren and Krul, which is interesting. And Krul is an interesting character. She seems to have her own motivations. There's a reason she kept you and Mika alive. And then that makes more sense now that I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so you got away, but Mika was kept alive. I'm like, why'd she keep this random human alive? There seems to be a reason for that. And so now she's told Mika something that we, the audience, don't know. That seems to have given him more resolve to go get you. So what it is, I guess we'll find out. But I did want to make a couple really quick notes. It has been brought to my attention that Azure Amaru is a male. And I'm like, his voice is very light and high pitched. So for a guy, so for a male character, I guess they're demons. So does gender really even matter for demons? I don't know, but they're played. I suppose they're supposed to be male. So that's interesting. I just took Azure Amaru for a female, but demons do not conscribe to gender norms apparently. So I'm glad that was pointed out. But yeah, so it's really a crazy dynamic that you have Mika, who has become more and more isolated and is slowly seeming to lose more and more of his humanity, which is really sad. I don't like that. But then you have you, who is gaining more confidence and is having more resolve with protecting both his new family and trying to protect Mika. So I like that. So it's like, I like what's happening with Yu's character, but then with Mika's character, I'm getting more and more fearful. So it's a fun dynamic, right? And then we have just them learning more about their demons and their swords. So it's all just setting up in the second season, the second core, for the final battle to take place. And supposedly they're all supposed to meet up in Tokyo. That was going to be the giant battle in Tokyo. But before we get there, we got to go to Nagoya. And there's going to be a battle with Mika and the other vampires there, like a prelude. Kind of like what we did in the last season. So, so of course they're all going to meet up. And the question is how is Mika? Because Yu's friends now know what Yu's goal is to get Mika, and Guren seems to be wanting to help him with that goal. So the question is, when they do meet up with Mika, how is it going to go down? What's going to end up happening? That's the big mystery. And what does this whole Seraph of the End thing have to do? We found out that Yoichi and Kimizuki have something up with them. They've been experimented on, but they don't know that. So it's interesting, and I really have come to like Shinoa's character as well, because she's just kind of like, my family, there's a bunch of nepotism, and my family is the worst, and I don't want to be a part of it. And I'm like, I respect that, Shinoa. I like it. So I don't know what's going to happen with this episode, but I am very, very excited. So let's not waste any more time, shall we? We are going to start Seraph of the End, episode 16, and we are going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. This series gets more and more interesting as time goes on. This episode. I kind of loved it. There's a part of me that wants them to hurry up and get to Nagoya so that you and Mika can reunite. But we're only we're 13, 14, 15, 16. We're 4 episodes into, we're only we're only a fourth into the second season. So it's like, okay. Or a third. We're only a third into the second season at this point. So, okay, if you look at a 3-act structure, this is the end of Act 1 of Season 2, the second core. We have 12 episodes in the second core, and if we split it into 4, rule of 8, right? If we split, I'm excited for the 8th episode of the second season because the rule of 8. But if we separate it into 3 acts, this is the end of Act 1. We have our characters getting set up. The conflict is getting set up. We know the characters all along from the series, but for the second season, we've set up that there's going to be the battle in Nagoya. We've set up that Mika has a problem. The vampire blood isn't cutting it anymore. How convenient it's matching up to this final battle, right? So the blood's not working anymore for Mika, vampire blood. It's getting worse. It's getting to where he nearly, he got close to drinking a human kid this time around, but he's resisting still. It's getting to where it's not going to be enough. And then we're getting set up that our main crew, Mitsuba's squad, or I guess it's Shinoa's squad now. Mitsuba, even though she was promoted, it's technically Shinoa's squad now, it seems. Shinoa's squad is not experienced and they need some more training. And so they've been sent to train with this other group, which is interesting. And so we're going to talk about them. But we've got our main character set up. The initial issues are set up. So then that means the episodes 17, 18, 19, and 20 are going to be Act 2. So that's going to be episode the 7th, the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So episode 20 is going to be the rule of 8. So I'm excited when we get to that point. And then from there, then we'll be setting up and going into the final act of season 2. So, But yeah, this episode's interesting because, like I said, Guren is getting to be a more fascinating character. Like in season 1, Guren was just shady. He was shady, he was mean, he was cold. And now that we're learning slowly more and more about him, he's becoming a more complex character. And he's fascinating. There's a lot of parallels with him and you in this episode, which is curious. And I feel like with Shinya, I want to compare Shinya maybe with Mika, which is curious. From the onset, I was like, Shinya's kind of like Yoichi, but no, Shinya's kind of like Mika, I suppose. Showing up with that big red flashy car, I'm like, only a Hiragi would show up in the apocalypse in like this beautiful sports car that Guren slices in two because Guren's not materialistic. Clearly, I love it. We're going to talk about Guren and Shinya. I ship them very hard in this because it's clear Guren has no interest in any of the women in this series. Clearly, he does not. But yeah, I feel for Mika. I feel so bad because Mika is struggling. He is struggling to retain his humanity. And it's like he's not human anymore. He's like in this weird limbo between vampire and human. And it's like he just... I'm fearful that Mika is gonna like get on the battlefield and is just gonna regress and have no hope. And I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen with Mika. I'm fearful. I'm fearful that because it's gonna be the thing if he's gonna be like he wants to retain his humanity. So around you, he's gonna be like, I've not drank any human blood. But what if he gets around you and then he has to drink a human's blood? Like, what is you gonna think of him? Like, if he's like, I'm actually a vampire now, like full fledged. Like, how is that gonna change him? Is his eyes gonna turn red? Are his ears gonna be pointy? Like, how is this gonna work? So, I feel for Mika. I really, really do. But the Moon Demon's orders. So the orders of going out here. And Guren does prove himself to be a leader in all of this. Like, Guren is a very effective leader, and you can see why he is so high up in command. He's a troll, but when it comes to him giving orders and intimidating and having authority, he does a really good job at it. But so Kimizuki, our designated driver forever in this series. Nobody else is driving except Kimizuki. And I love that this poor vehicle they've drove, it's like got the hatch off. It's like slowly just deteriorating. By the end, it's just going to be like hobbling around to get from place to place. I noted in the reaction that somebody pointed out that this actually takes place where this is happening it's hot. They said Hakone. And I was like, oh, that's where Run with the Wind. That's where the race is. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. Nice. Interesting. But yeah, so our crew is all headed up and they're running late to the Abina rest stop. All right. That they're running behind. And so they do kind of dilly-dally here. Granted, they do fight some four horsemen of John, which is good. Got them out of the way. But they do kind of dilly-dally, and Guren is not... He makes examples of them to everybody else. And what I like about this is that Guren uses it as not only a teaching experience for Kimizuki and Shinoa and them being like, you all are not ready, so you need more training. Don't get cocky, even though you did good against some vampires. You're not ready for this battle. You need some more training. But it was also a way of him putting them in their place so that the older people there, like the one crew, when they show up, they're like, you guys are pathetic and you're not taking this seriously. By the end of the episode, they're like, okay, these kids are good. They just need some training. Like, we have to take them on. And I like that Guren takes this as a teachable moment for them. But at the same time, he also at the same time, he also uses it to show the other people there, the other demon army people, that these kids need watching over. That they're the newbies, they need some watching over, and to show that it's worth watching over them because they have so much potential. So I like that. I like that Guren, he effectively not only shows his authority with this crew, but at the same time, he also demonstrates, like, he also kind of welcomes Shinoa's squad into the fold. It's a very interesting move. Like, he gets them to be welcomed into the fold without anyone really realizing that it's happening. I'm like, that's interesting. Like, Guren is pretty effective in this role as leader. I'm very surprised with him. So yeah, this giant rest stop. I thought it was a mall, but it's the biggest truck stop in the world. That's where they all decided to go to. And so we have Sakuya, Sakura, and Shigure there, and then Goshi, honey. Goshi is like this, like, horny, which it's the apocalypse. These guys haven't had it in, like, who knows how long. They're adults. They're like, I finally found a scantily clad lady swimsuit edition. Like, check it out. Found my porn. Look here in the apocalypse. And Shigure and Sayuri won't wear them. I like the Shigure's like, absolutely not. Forget it. And then Sayuri's like, well, if Guren told me to. It's like, oh no. Like, several of these girls, like, having a crush on Guren. Which, you know, he's tall, dark, and handsome. And has that voice. And then Goshi's like, Guren, tell them to. And of course, Guren's like, I'm not interested. So this is the interesting thing, though. I don't think with Shinoa's sister, her having I think it was an unrequited love, having the crush on Guren, I don't think Guren liked her back. I think that she had the love and the crush on Guren, but Guren couldn't reciprocate it. And I think that that's one of the reasons that led her to die. So I feel like Guren constantly nagging Shinoa about liking you, I feel like he's projecting maybe a little bit of himself or her sister onto Shinoa, being like, are you just like your sister or are you different? Because I think Guren maybe sees the writing. I don't know if Guren sees the writing on the wall and knows that you likes Mika and not Shinoa or anybody else. I don't know if Guren is aware of that. He clearly values Mika because that's why he's, still helping them to begin with. But I feel like maybe he's projecting a little bit of himself onto you and projecting a little bit of Shinoa's sister onto her and saying, like, are you in the same boat? Are you going to lose it? Like your sister did because you have this love for someone. And Shinoa's not like her sister. I don't think so. I think Shinoa cares about you a great deal as a friend, but I don't think she's romantically interested in him. I think she just really cares for him and wants him to be safe. But that's interesting. And so them at this truck stop, Mito's surveying the area to make sure there's no vampires around. And he's like, why aren't you, Goshi? And Goshi's like, I'm busy looking at this swimsuit magazine. And then I like they asked Mito if she would wear a swimsuit, but he says that Guren asked, and she's like, huh? And she gets even. She's like, pervert Guren really wants to see you in a swimsuit. And she's like, what? Like, what's going on? So yeah, all the girls be liking Guren, and Guren is not here for them. Guren, I like that Guren just ignores them. He's like, never mind, don't want to deal with any of you. Gonna ignore. Because he's here for a man that pulls up in a red sports car, and that would be Shinya, with the damn toast in his mouth, showing up like a shoujo protagonist. What is this nonsense? I love it. I love that Shinya's like, I have to make a grand entrance from a bay. So, I kind of love Shinya a lot, even though we've seen him we've heard a whole 5 seconds of conversation out of him. I absolutely love him. He's absolutely wonderful. And he kind of fits perfectly with Guren because Guren is all against the nobility and family bloodlines. Like, he hates it. He hates the nepotism. And Shinya is the adopted son, so he really isn't by blood related. He's like, it's perfect for a stupid looking guy like you. And Shinya's like, oh, does that mean you love me? Like, I love it. Oh my God. He's like, and here's the thing. Shinya's like, my brother Kureto said that you guys are just sacrificial pawns. So he's like, you guys are going on this suicide mission trying to take on all these nobles with 100 men. So I thought my stupid looking self would help you out. I'm like, is this your love language? If there are two couples I ship in this series, it's Mika and you, and it's Guren and Shinya. Absolutely. And that soft smile, that's the thing. Guren, other women don't care. Shinya, he gives that soft smile to, being like, oh, you're here to help. Shut up. Like, I can't. It reminds me so much of you and Mika. I see the parallels. And I see the parallels of you and Guren in this, which is, it's interesting. It's that whole mentor relationship, which the OP makes me nervous because it's showing Guren versus Mika again. I'm like, no, we already had this song and dance. The only problem is, I think if they fight each other again, the last time around, Mika could overpower Guren. But with Mika in this fragile state, what I get worried about is that with Mika in this delicate state, that Guren is going to be able to take advantage of him. And the question is he going to try to kill Mika? Because that's part of the agenda, kill vampires. Or is you going to be like, don't kill Mika? And Guren's like, I got to. And what do we do about that? So, it's complicated. It's complicated indeed. But yeah, like they try to sneak in. Like we'll just sneak into the back and Guren's like, you're late. Who do you think you are? And Shinoa tries to pass it off like she normally does with her being, she tries to pass it off all cutesy, like is her defense mechanism, and Guren shuts that shit down pretty quick. And he gets mad. He's like, this mission isn't a game. Leave if you can't follow the army's rules. Like, he's one pissed that she's trying to like be cutesy about it, but also he's supposed to be this figure of authority and lay down the law. And that's the thing. Guren does a lot of acting in this series, where Shinya even points it out to you. He's like, oh, Guren's actually a nice person. He just puts on a big front. That's exactly it. Guren puts on a front a lot of times. Like, he has to show this figure authority as a leader. He has to be, stern to get his point across. He's trying not to let his emotions get involved because Corretto points out that you're in a position where emotions need to be pushed to the side. But Guren is such an emotional person that that's really hard for him to do that. So he puts on this front. But I'm like, if he's the traitor, then I don't know anymore. I don't know. At the end of season 1, I was 100% convinced that Guren was the traitor. He was the one feeding information to the vampire army and to Farid. But now, I don't know. It could be Goshi for all we know. I mean, Goshi didn't go and do the lookout for the vampires like he was supposed to. At this point, this series has it's done a very good job of making you question, like, okay, who is to be trusted and who's not to be trusted? I don't know anymore. I'm like, I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to believe is the traitor. There is a traitor among them, but we don't know who it is. And I thought it was Guren, and now I'm not so sure. So we get this other squad that's going to train them. Is it Natsuri? We're going to get their name here in a second. But we get an image of them as a group. And so there's a girl with pigtails with the very long ribbons that look like they'd be a detriment in battle. There's her. There's the guy with the bandana, who looks like a Kimazuki lookalike. I figure he's going to be... I'm wondering if it's going to be like Mitsuba, pigtails and pigtails for them. And then there's the girl with the red hair, who kind of looks like Yoichi, in a sense, in that kind of seems like Yoichi. The guy with the bandana kind of seems like Kimazuki, that thing. And then you have... I'm assuming the one with the trident is going to be the one that's training you. And then there's the other one. So, curious. And we'll get their names here at the end. But he has like a trident. I like it. But yeah, he makes the comment, stupid kids screwing around. Yeah, so the whole army, they're against Shinoa's squad at the beginning because they think that they're just inexperienced rookies that showed up and they don't understand the gravity of the situation and what they're about to walk into. And Guren spends this entire episode testing this crew and also showing them that, yeah, you guys have no clue what we're about to do. So get your act together and we're going to help train you so that you're prepared. But you guys aren't ready. Like, just showing how inexperienced they still are. Even though they've had some victories. And Yu tries to take the fall for him. And I think Guren respects that Yu tried to take it on himself. And so he's like, then are you going to leave? And he says, no. And Yu's like, I'm not running away. We came this way. We're going to fight with y'all. And he says, you'll be punished later. And Shinoa gets very worried. She's like, oh, because she thinks, Yu thinks getting punished is going to get lectured to. And Shinoa's like, no, they're going to probably torture you or do something horrible to you. It's not going to be what you think it is, right? But Guren being like, I'm not going to tolerate anybody fooling around and not following the rules. It's going to be our most dangerous situation and many people will die. And here we go back to that thing about family. He says, everyone here is family, and that means we'll lose many of our family members. So somebody pointed out back in episode 13 that Guren was like, I own you, but then here he talks about family. So again, what I feel like the whole owning you thing, he said during that moment because he was about to go see the Hiragi family, and Guren was trying to establish some kind of authority, being like, do what I say when you're around the Hiragis, and then you was just like, I'll do whatever I want. But I do think Guren is like, everyone here is family. And again, that ties to you. You believes that they're all family as well. And so, and then that's when Shinoa is like, oh, we could possibly lose people. The completion of this mission is worth it. Our goal isn't to come back alive, but to come back with victory. And that's scary because, yeah, it's like, you know, the price to pay is, it's worth it because we're saving humanity. So then, yeah, Yu goes off and they try to convince Yu not to go alone, that they'll all go. And here's the thing. They get punished because they didn't all go together to stand up beside him. They let him go alone. And Yu let them stay back. And Guren kind of punishes him. He's like, no, the whole point was that you should have all stayed together as a group. So now we're going to punish you and show you why it's important that you stay as a group and why you help each other out. And again, this is like the soft version of Yu being like, oh, I'll be fine. I can do it alone. And even though it's just him thinking it's a scolding, it's like, no, the point is you guys stay together no matter what. Even if you think that you have a handle on it, even if Yu's like, oh, I can go on ahead by myself, it's fine, I've got this. No, you all stay together no matter what. That's the point. But they don't do that, and so then they all get punished. Okay. And so here's the thing that's interesting. So Shinya watching there, and Yu is like, okay, so you're going to lecture me, huh? And then he notices, he's like, well... And Guren's like, I know exactly that you took the fall for your comrades. It's fine. And then he's like, why, did you call me up here just to praise me then if you knew what was going on? And Shinya says, that's right, Yu. He may not look it, but Guren is actually nice. Like, And then here's the thing. Yu says, you're that guy from that place from that time. I'm like, damn it, you can't be specific. You're the guy that wanted info on dirt on Guren to prove he was a traitor, right? I'm just like, Yu, of all times for you not to be specific, this is the worst time. Because I don't know. I don't know if Guren... Here's the thing. I don't know if Guren knows that Shinya is in with Kuretto trying to figure out if he's a traitor. I'm assuming he does. He's not stupid. I'm assuming he knows that Kuretto doesn't trust Guren and is trying to figure out what's going on. But my question is, I wonder if Guren and Shinya have talked about this and they know that they suspect Guren is a traitor. How does that look? What is that like? It's curious, but I'm just like, you could, of all times for you not to be specific, you chose now. And then, of course, Shinya says, I have no clue what you're saying, but long time no see. Like, God, no. I hate it. And then Guren's like, enough with the chit-chat. Let's get this over with. And so Goshi's whole thing is about illusions and spells. Interesting. And I like that when they ran up to see him, it was like him dangling over a fire. I was like, they wouldn't do anything like that. So I was a little confused, but then when it was an illusion, I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not real. Okay. And so then, yeah, Shinoa goes to try to save him. And Guren's like, let you come here alone. And I'm teaching you that one slip up will get your comrades killed. Like, you can't break formation. You can't break the team. Otherwise, it's going to come back and bite you in the face. And Shinoa's like, well, I see. I already know that without your advice. And he's like, no, you don't. He's like, you don't know. And I love this. He says, you've never had someone that was important to you. So that's what this all is. Like, everything with him constantly badgering Shinoa over and over again about whether she likes you or not. It's not that he's trying to, like, out her crush or anything or prove that she's like her sister or anything like that necessarily. It's the fact that Shinoa has her entire life never had someone that was really close to. She didn't feel like there was anybody really important to her or connected to her. So people were expendable because she didn't value their lives. She was like, well, bad things happen. People die, but it's no big deal. But now you don't know the fear of losing someone. But now she does have that fear because she is close to you. She is close to Yuichi and the others. And Guren's like, you've never lost anyone important to you, so you don't know the fear of losing that person. That's rough. He's like, from here on, it's different. He's like, you're going to have that fear that they could die. And if you get that fear, you could act impulsively and you could damage everything. You could ruin all the teamwork and everything if you let your emotions get ahead of you. He's like, so one mistake can lead to a comrade's death easily. And it's like, ooh, you're fooling around will kill your family. And she's like, I already know. And he's like, I said you don't. It's like, ooh, Guren has always been very harsh with Shinoa. And I think it's because, honestly, he cares for Shinoa and doesn't want her to die like her sister. I think that's it. I think he does care for Shinoa, but he doesn't want her to die like her sister did. And so he's trying to like drill it into her head. Like, I was lax with your sister and she ended up getting killed because of it. I don't want that to happen to you. What happens if a great threat shows up right now? Can you manage? Are you ready? You're not. He's like, let's do a test. And he says only 3. And the fact that only 3 of them could fight them is interesting. And he chooses the 2 to fight with him that are the most compatible for what they're about to show them. Like, most compatible to fight against him. Like, Shinya is pretty good for long range things. And then Mito's good for close range. And then Guren's kind of like a balance there. And Yu's like, don't be hard on Shinoa. She's trying. And he's like, well, aren't you nice? Then win for your loving supervisor Shinoa's sake. And I love this exchange. She's like, don't blame me for embarrassing you. And he's like I'd lose to a kid. You did lose to a kid, though. You lost to Mika, so... Then again, Mika was a vampire, so what can we do? But yeah, so then they have this battle. And it's pretty much... It goes... Shinya's power, though... That's the thing. Yoichi's power, Shinya's is like an upgraded version of Yoichi's power. Because Yoichi has the arrows that can fly in different directions. But Shinoa's becomes a literal tiger that can run around and go find people. It's like the blue turtle shell from Mario Kart. It just finds people and knocks them out, right? But yeah, so Shinya's has a pretty OP ability. Except in close range combat. That's the only part that's not good at. But yeah, they all get to where Yu is by himself fighting Guren, right? And he puts the spell tag on you. And it reminds me a lot of Sailor Mars. It always reminds me of Sailor Mars taking the fire talisman and flinging it on somebody's head and then it blowing up. That's what it reminds me of. An explosion spell. And then I love that Mito's like, yeah, I'm not going to let you disenchant it, so no. And he's like, give up you, it'll blow your head off. And Yu's like, well then fine, I'm taking you with me. And for a moment, Guren seems like he's surprised. And then he's like, yeah, I saw that coming. And then that's why he had Shinya there. Because he probably knows that's Yu's nature to like rush in like that. Oh. And then, but that was the point. He had Shinya shoot the bullet at him. And while he deflected it, Guren got past him. He's like, there, I'm through. Your comrades are dead now. Like, that's all it took. All it took was for me to get through. And then, yeah. And then he takes them out one by one. And then him just fighting Shinoa, and he's like, bad call. And like, he has like, there's an animosity that he almost has towards Shinoa. But again, I think it's the fact that it's one of those things where you're like hard on somebody you care about because you want them to be the best that they can be. And he almost seems disappointed with her that she rushes headfirst in. He's like, bad call. Like, why'd you do that? No, you knew that was not going to work. And he knocks the scythe away from her. Oh, a commander should never fight someone stronger than oneself. So that line of dialogue, I'm like, but Guren, you were going after Mika. I guess he assumed that he was stronger than Mika, but we saw how that worked. And he's like, you guys are too late. And so, yeah, he just takes them all out. I'm like, what? I guess she didn't have her scythe when he like had her cornered. You've got 3 black demon holders and this is all you've got. The nobles are far stronger than us. How do you plan on defeating them? So just making an example of everybody. As far as you can see, these are our first newbies in a while. I mean, these are the youngest crew. Take care of them, you guys. So yeah, again, this is Guren all being like, look, I've made this example of this crew. You see their potential, but you also see how weak they are right now. We need to help them grow as demon army members. So just help take care of them, please. And yeah, the one guy's like, they have 3 black demon holders, some serious newbies. But without teamwork, they're useless. And he's like, that's why we need to take care of them. It's like, yep, okay. And Yu's so stubborn. He's just like, has his grumpy badger face. He was thinking, I'm thinking what strategy we need to try next time. And then Shinya's like, oh, you're earnest and things like that. Like, I love Shinya. Shinya's such a little sneaky troll. Mm-hmm. I love it. And Yu's like, you remind me of Mika. And then Guren gives him the head pats. Because I think Guren sees a lot of himself in Yu. And Yu's like, what are you doing? He's like, you guys can become stronger. Work on your teamwork. So again, it's so weird. Like, Guren has this soft look in his eyes. And he gives him the head pat. And he's like all supportive of them. Guren is so hard to pin down because in one moment he seems sketchy and mean, and then it turns on a dime and he seems fine. So it's like, what is the real Guren? Who is the real Guren? At times I feel like this is the real Guren. But then it's like, then why does he, I mean, I get why he puts up on a front for the most part, but what? And then that's when this guy comes up. I'm against bringing these newbies to the battlefield. They can't follow rules. They don't have teamwork. They're just going to drag us down. And he's like, oh, well, you do have a point. They're pretty inexperienced. So you guys take care of them. You guys will make them stronger. And he's like, what? Narumi. Shigure, rearrange the squads. Team up Shinoa's squad with Narumi's. Okay. And he's like, but wait. He's like, no, this is Makoto Narumi. Okay, so he's a sergeant. All right, so Makoto Narumi. All righty. Good to know. And then we have the rest of Narumi's squad. Rika Inoue, of course. Rika Inoue with the butterfly clip and the butterfly bows. Taro Kageyama. So we have Inoue, Kageyama. All right. And then we have Inoue, Kageyama, Indo with the glasses, and Iwasaki. All right. They're an excellent team. Let them train you. Okay. And I love that they've all like detailed their outfits in certain ways and personalized them. Mm-hmm. Playtime's over. Let's go. Guren's like, I'm not going to hear your objections. Guren is also freaking tall. I feel like that voice actor, every character he plays, whether it's Gojo, Kuro, Guren, or Shigure from Fruits Basket, they're all tall characters. All right. And Narumi's like, And Yu is like, okay, it's nice to serve with you. And Narumi's like, a kid. Like, gives him like the grip of his arm. He's like, oh God. And he's just like, I begrudgingly am doing this only because Guren has ordered me to. And I love that Inoue's like, thanks a lot to your big mouth. Now we gotta babysit these kids. Give us a break. And then I like that Iwasaki says they seem to have raw power. With some training, they could be useful. Interesting. And I'm like, what's with him? He's a douchebag, but he's right. Yeah, I like Kimazuki's like, well, you know. And then Shinoa, bless her heart, she's like, I'm sorry, everything's my fault. And it's like, no, it's not, Shinoa. Don't blame everything on you. We lost today's fight due to my incompetence. I like that Yu is like, don't say you're not fit for a commander. We'll grow stronger. Guren said that. It's fine. Get over it. It's okay. If we work on our teamwork, as Mitsuba says. And then, like, the closer we get to each other, the stronger we'll get. And that's such a parallel because Yoichi's like, you know, the more we bond, the better off we'll be. Meanwhile, you have Mika, who has grown distant from everybody and is growing weaker and weaker. So it's a parallel. It's a contrast. We need a commander, and so Shinoa is the commander. Right, Shinoa? Oh, I love it. I love it. She's like, yeah, sure. And so then we cut to Mika, and Mika is just growing weaker and weaker by the second. And again, the other vampires are they're not shunning him. That's the thing that surprises me the most about this series, is that the purple-haired vampire and the others, they're not, I think is it Reen? Is the purple-haired vampire maybe? They're not shunning Mika. They want Mika to join them in the vampire clan, but Mika is just totally against it. And Reen is like, we're trying to help you, dude. And oh my gosh. And so, but poor Mika, like he's just slowly like descending more and more. I feel so bad for Mika. I really do, because he wants to retain his humanity, but it's like, dude, you're not human anymore, and he just can't accept it because he fears that you won't want to be with him if he's a full vampire. He's not going to want to be with him because that's the enemy. The vampires are the enemy. Oh, bless his heart. But yeah, the purple-haired vampire, he tries to be like, hey, now's your chance. I won't tell anybody if you want to just, slip up and have a drink or whatever. It's fine. These kids are tributes to the nobles. It's the weirdest thing. I don't like what the nobles what the vampires are doing, rounding up all these kids to drink their blood. I don't like that at all. But then you have these vampires that are just like talking with one another, and it's like, I feel for Mika because he's just in this weird limbo of it all. And he's just like, what a weirdo. And yeah, at this point, like, he can't even finish the blood that Krul gave him anymore. It's not enough. And I just feel like that shot of him on the airplane shaking, like, just, he's in a bad state. And I feel like if he fights Guren again, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Because, yeah, he goes back to what Krul was telling him. That day will come for sure when you have to have human blood, whether you like it or not. Yeah, he doesn't even finish it. Oh, God. I'm so worried about Mika. I really am. I'm worried about him. I'm worried about what you's going to think of him. It's not good, y'all. It's not good! So, but yeah. So, this was a really good episode. I feel like we've done a great job of just setting up. We've set up Mika's struggles. We're setting up you and all of them getting together. We're setting up they're going to Nagoya. They're going to fight these vampire nobles. What a difficult battle this is going to be. And it's just, it's going to be hard. So, I don't know what to expect, but I guess we'll find out. So, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of this episode. It was great, but in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 17 of Seraph of the End. Bye.